Madison, and my speech is about the American dream. One thing about the American dream is that the ideals are constantly changing, and so it may seem like an impossible goal now, but it really isn't because it's always been changing. Um, I believed that in America I could truly reap what I sowed, and that the measure of a man is his ability and determination to succeed. This was the land of boundless opportunity. That is a quote by Thomas Peterfy, and he was an immigrant who came to America with absolutely nothing and ended up being a millionaire and very, very successful. So that kind of goes to show you that anybody can succeed in America because it is the land of opportunity. Um, America is a nation of immigrants, and we truly are a nation of immigrants because most of the people that are here immigrated at some point. Even if it wasn't recently and you've been here for generations and generations, we're still the melting pot, and at some point you probably immigrated here unless you're a Native American. Um, the American dream, exactly like in recent years, has been thought of as to be middle class. The perfect little family with a white picket fence, 2.2 children, and a dog. That's basically the American dream of since at least the 1950s, 40s. That's the basic American dream. Right now, I'd say it's more to be middle class than to actually have the white picket fence and the 2.2 children and the dog. Those are kind of just extra. Um, the American dream is ever changing, and many immigrants look to the United States as a land of opportunity even today, not just back before. Um, the American dream, opportunity wise, well, you see, people that don't live here look to America as a land of opportunity because we have a lot of opportunities here that they wouldn't have in their home countries. And even if they do have those kind of opportunities in their home countries, it's still something that they'd come here for. Like, for example, even when America was first colonized by the Europeans, people were immigrating here because they literally had the opportunity to get land. And in those days, having land meant having everything. It meant you could vote, it meant you could have a status like you were amazing because you had land. So, literally, the land of opportunity. America's founding fathers established roots in this country based on the quest for personal liberty and freedom. The American dream at our nation's inception was something that we have always been attempting to live up to, that every man had the opportunity, through his or her own effort, to own land and succeed without barriers. Once again, once you have that land, when America was being founded, that land was everything. And until recent years, having land was everything. And immigrants are typically successful, as the Thomas Peterfy man, as an example from the quote, he, is among many, many other immigrants who are on the Forbes 400 list. So that goes to show, you can be an immigrant and you can come from nothing and come here with nothing and still be just as successful as somebody who was born here and born with, the American silver spoon in their mouth. It doesn't matter if you weren't born here or not. But I mean, really, the American dream is very different today than it was in the past. Because right now, your main goal isn't just to own land. Your main goal is to be middle class, basically. And the American dream is just something that's ever changing. I mean, if you look back at looking at the means to achieve these goals, they've kind of changed a lot. When America was a nation of farmers, that was when the height of really having land was the most important thing you could own. And then as we became more of an industrious nation, that's when more of the wanting to be a middle class American with the perfect family and the white picket fence started to come into play, those ideals. Just because the American dream is changing doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Many might argue that the American dream is dead because it's harder to achieve, but that's really unrealistic because it's still achievable. It's just that things have changed and the population has gone up a lot, so that's something that comes into play there big time. Slightly more than 55% of people believe that the American dream will be harder to achieve a generation now than it is today. And that is from a poll from the 1980s. And, they were right. They were very right. The American dream is harder to achieve, but as time goes on, it's always going to get harder to achieve. And if you do look, in the 80s, it was a lot easier to be successful and to become middle class. In the 80s, you could be a high school dropout or even junior high school dropout and still get a white collar job. And today, you're lucky if you can flip burgers with your college degree. Like, that's just realistic. There's just a lot more obstacles in the way of achieving the American dream today. That's all it is. But if you work very, very hard, you can still achieve it. The American dream is alive, but it's ever changing, and it's always been ever changing. In conclusion, the American dream is alive and well, but the ideals, they're ever changing, but it is still a possible goal that can be achieved. Many immigrants still look to America as the land of opportunity, and that's always been something that has been a factor. The American dream is said to be a middle-class perfect family with a white picket fence and 2.5 children and a dog. Whether that's what you think the American dream currently is or not, the American dream is really, truly achieving happiness, and however you achieve that happiness is up to you. Living the American dream is different for everybody, but the American dream is still alive because it's truly how you define it.